All right, what's going on, Amazon sellers? Welcome back to the weekly live news and Q&A show built just for you people. I'm Chris Grant, along with my periostontic. Nope, I screwed that up. Peristeronic co-host Chris Rasick.
Wow, when you put it that way.
Right. It is it's completely untrue. Chris, you do not resemble a pigeon, which is what that one means.
Right.
Today, as always, we'll be chatting about a few pieces of news of interest to you, Amazon sellers, and take your questions about anything relating to Amazon, online arbitrage, retail arbitrage, or wholesale. It's been a week. So let's take a moment, maybe take a collective deep breath, and then we'll get into it. But Chris, how's your week been going so far?
My week is good. Both kids officially back in school.
Fantastic.
So drop them off, and it's amazing how fast that window of focus evaporates. School pickup line, that's another that's a whole nother conversation. It was such a busy week. So did you see the Wells Fargo can't get out of their own way with the press? Did you see the employee that died at her cubicle? And it
didn't find her for 4 days.
Right. I was gonna check with you. Like I saw, like when I looked at the show notes and I saw, you had it fleshed out with more important topics, I guess, except to the family of this woman. I was gonna float that out there. I was like, we could probably fit this into Amazon news, like the whole taking your time back and working for yourself. But yeah, 4 days. Like,
here's the question: would your family notice for 4 days if you perished at your desk?
Yeah, I mean, the 6-year-old has an undiagnosed tapeworm, so she'll need a snack. She'd know within 45 minutes. I mean, she'd go, jump on her tablet or something and be like, I want a snack, and Daddy is not responding. So yeah, they would definitely know. But like how many jokes is that? Like before the funeral, are they going to make her family like fill out like a crucial duty list, for their replacement? Like what goes up faster? The Indeed post for her position, or the obituary. Like they just write themselves.
Oh yeah. It's been fascinating. I can't believe that. It's going to be. I don't know. That's just really, really poor on their part. Something interesting happened in our house. My son became a chief narc at school. He joined safety patrol, and at first he was like, no, I don't want to do it. But his friends, kind of goaded him into it. Let's all do it, and let's make all these kindergartners, be the boss of those kids. So he's sort of enjoying that, being able to tell all these kids, hey, walk in a straight line, comb your hair, that kind of stuff. So
does he insist on being referred to as Officer Grant?
Not yet. I'm waiting for that. I'm waiting for the power to go to his head so we can talk about how power corrupts. But it hasn't happened yet.
Get him one of those top bound, so he could just flip a notebook open and jot down citations faster.
You know what Amazon sellers need more of these days? Simplicity. That and maybe a little bit of speed. And that's what this week's sponsor, Boxum, offers. Simple 4-step shipping process rather than whatever it is Amazon cooked up with their workflow. The simplicity of touching products once and 2D barcodes all built in to try to help Amazon associates get your items received faster, plus instant access to your receiving and sales analytics to help you kind of gauge how things are going in your business. So if you want to give if you want to get a 14-day free trial, head over to cleartheshelf.com/Boxum Live, or hit the link in the description below. And that was what we call a smooth transition to an ad. All right,
That was
let's dive into some of the serious stuff. Nike. Amazon is at it again with Nike. Came out this morning that it seems that Amazon rolled out another round of gating with Nike. Jeff Storch, friend of the show, came out this morning on Twitter and said he looked at an ASIN, and it seemed that the last round got about 60% of the sellers, and this round maybe got another 20% of the sellers, or somewhere around there. But I saw it all over social media that more and more people were getting gated. Now, there is some good news. It does look like you can still go in and request to be ungated. Now, the reason I know that is my own laziness and lack of planning properly, because I sent in a request to be re-ungated for Amazon today from items that I ordered all the way back in June to use for Nike ungating, and then just let them sit and didn't do anything about it while I waited for, to know what Amazon was going to do. Is the excuse that I'll use.
exactly.
It's not the truth, but that's what I'll use. There also seems to have been some gating for some people for the tool brand Milwaukee. I was ungated yesterday, and I am gated today. Fortunately, I can also send in invoices for that to get ungated, which, since I've already bought the inventory, I will be doing. So hopefully there's not a whole lot more, but it is curious what Amazon is doing. The pendulum has swung almost too far. I think my opinion is that they swung the pendulum too far in both directions. All right. A signed headshot of President Obama should not have gotten you ungated in any brands. And the pendulum swung too far to be too easy a while back. And now it seems like they may be swinging the pendulum too far in the other direction to maybe clean up a mess of their own creation. And I'm curious what you think.
You know what? This feels like, given it depends as an answer. I still think it's a glitch.
Okay.
Because and my theory is I was not gated on Nike. I've been approved both of these waves. Nothing ever happened. And I've only been ungated recently. We've covered that on previous shows, right? So I've been good on Nike the whole time. I'm good on Milwaukee. Have been the whole time. I've missed all of this. However, I did get an account health notice for a pesticide, a product that
Ooh.
Amazon thinks has a pesticide in it, and it's something for like horse hooves or something like that. I don't even know what it does. I'm just guessing it doesn't have pesticide, but so it feels like the Pandora's box that was opened the first go round just opened up again. Somebody was like, hey, what's the switch doing off? And then they flicked it on and they were like, oh, that's why that was off. So, and it just kind of released another wave of the crap that we dealt with a few weeks ago. So, except Milwaukee, I don't know what the deal is with Milwaukee. That one's curious, because we talked about it before the show. There's a bunch of garbage Milwaukee listings. I just did a search on my VA spreadsheets and just went month by month and looked for Milwaukee products, and it didn't take long until I actually found two different ones. I found a total of 3 different brands under Milwaukee. I found the actual Milwaukee one, which is what I checked to see if I was gated or not. That was fine. I checked another one. There's a company called Fortool, Fortool. Seems to have made a bunch of Milwaukee listings several years ago. that are still on the catalog. I would have thought something like that would have triggered a Milwaukee gate. So I kind of, that's why I checked that to see if maybe that's what was getting caught up. And then there's I even saw a third brand just in a quick overview of my spreadsheets. There was it was gibberish. It was just a bunch of consonants towards the end of the alphabet. I don't even know what it was, but and that was ungated too. So that was my initial theory, but so I don't have a good answer on Milwaukee, but
yeah. I'm gonna wait a few days. Hopefully, it just magically goes away. That's what my hope is. Always try to hope for it to be a mistake at first, but we shall see. It'll be and hopefully this slows down a little bit. I mean, I think a lot of times we forget. Which, let's see, yeah, we're still in Q3. Q3, there's often a lot of problems. Amazon seems to like to do cleanups and all of that stuff, right before Q4 hits. And then we have the floodgates that open and they need people to sell stuff. So hopefully this slows down, here pretty soon. Now, in the face of all this, Amazon went out and, decided to toot their own horn, put out a little good news PR for themselves. They recently released their 2024 economic impact report on how Amazon helps keep America's economy strong. And they go on to say that for over 30 years, they've invested in communities across the U.S., created jobs and built infrastructure, and so on and so forth. They even got the number one investment hero from a firm or a think tank called Progressive Policy Institute, which is an economic research group. And they've gotten this for the 5th year in a row. Now, I went out and I actually did some research to see if I could find out who the biggest donor is to this think tank. And I could not find the information, but I did it because I automatically, the cynic in me was like, I'll bet you that it's Amazon that, funds this think tank, but I don't know for sure. But there were some interesting numbers that came out of this report. It says that, or they say, which, maybe these numbers are a little bit inflated, that Amazon's investments have contributed over $1 trillion to the U.S. GDP since 2010, which that number actually, I guess, makes sense to me, even if you just look at the sales, the gross merchandise volume on Amazon through that period. Last year, Amazon invested over $244 billion in the U.S., which is employee compensation and infrastructure development. And don't go saying, oh, well, Jeff Bezos is worth more than that. Those are unrealized gains. That's just what he's worth on paper for right now. Says that Amazon supports almost 5 million jobs across the U.S. through people that they both hire and the investment in communities. And then the one that I found most interesting is that the stores on Amazon, the small and medium-sized businesses that sell, employ more than 1.8 million people in the U.S. in 2023. Excuse me. Which I thought was crazy. I didn't know it would be that many people that are employed by the small and medium sellers on Amazon. And then finally, one of the most interesting things was that independent sellers in rural areas collectively achieved more than 60% year-over-year growth in their store. Now, I don't know what they define as rural. Is that, is it sellers that are living out in the boondocks, or, are they like including the entire state of Utah? Because that would skew the numbers a little bit. So, but I thought those were interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. I want to know that is the timing significant of this? It's probably something they do annually, but yeah, the 60%. I wonder how much of that 60% growth is due to internet access. You know,
Good
like
question.
I wonder if it's just kind of organic. Just people waiting to simply get connected. Plug
Yeah,
in.
that could be. And if that's the case, I mean, is that because of, things like Starlink, or has regular internet, access via cables gotten out further?
Mhm.
I'm curious. I know that my aunt lived in a rural town in Ohio called Utica, and her internet was absolute garbage. It was
Mhm.
satellite internet, and I mean, my phone was faster. But I know
Yeah.
that, now Starlink and things like that make it so much easier and better, um, than what they had before.
Yeah. Yeah. My son's mom moved out in the boonies, uh, and he was a big video game guy. So um, he liked playing over here because he could get the speed that he needs to stream with his friends and whatever games, and he would just come back from his mom's house and just be like, oh, dad, you know, like I had dial up. Like I don't want to hear it. Like,
Right.
go read a book. But yeah, I mean that's just a few years ago. So yeah, uh, you can't overestimate or underestimate the challenges that out in the country has with getting connected.
Hmm. Uh, we have we speculated on this already, and it's now official. Amazon is going to bring back its October Prime Day sales event, the Prime Big Deal Days. Uh, Probably not really a surprise, but now the official date has not been released. But in 2023, it happened over October 10th and 11th. Now, in my opinion, I'm glad they're doing this. And the reason I'm glad they're doing this is that the holiday shopping season is shorter than normal this year. And the only reason I know that is that the holiday shopping season is always shorter when my dad's birthday also falls on Thanksgiving, and that's how I remember it. So I was not able to find estimated sales number for the event last October, but I was able to find some interesting news and some interesting information. Over 150 million items were purchased from third-party Amazon sellers over the Prime Big Deal Days last October. The average order ticket was $53 and some change. However, 60% of shoppers spent more than $100, and 40% of shoppers spent more than $200. I'm a bit tongue tied today, so I apologize. Uh, 88% of Prime members purchased at least one thing during the event last year. And the top four categories purchased in during the event last year were apparel and shoes. That doesn't surprise me. Home goods, household essentials, and beauty and cosmetics. I was a little surprised that with the holidays kind of just around the corner and people saying that they're going to get ready earlier and earlier, that toys and electronics did not make it into that top four, didn't even make it into the top five. But as we think about this, October 10th is, I mean, it's around the corner. Like it's going to be here before we know it, which means if you want to take advantage of those prime, big deal days, if you have anything waiting to be shipped in or anything like that, it's probably wise to get it in like immediately, just to make sure that there's plenty of time for inbound and receiving and all of that stuff, because it's also that time of year when large wholesalers, large private label sellers, things like that are probably sending in truckloads of items, to make sure that they are stocked up for all of Q4. So hopefully it turns out to be just as big this year as it was last year.
Yeah, hopefully. But this isn't going to be long lived. Yeah, there's actually an article that came out. Modern Retail ran it today that I saw, um, and it talked about the basically the demise of the traditional retail calendar.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think we should probably enjoy this while we can. I was shocked that Prime Day was as successful as it was, because it's just it's discount fatigue, basically. We're
Mhm.
stretching everything out. Holiday shopping. The Black Friday has turned into Cyber Week.
Mhm.
Like, we're taking, if it's big during a day, we're making it as long as possible. We're making it a week and a half. Um, pumpkin spice is going to be available at the end of the summer. Essentially, so essentially we're stretching everything out. We're trying to milk it as much as possible, and eventually we're going to get tired of it. And
Mhm.
because I already was, Prime Day, as my consumer side of my brain was just like, yeah, whatever. I don't have any urgency to buy stuff this year, with Prime Day. Maybe it was because I didn't need anything big. I should replace my microphone, but I wasn't in a hurry to do that. Maybe it's because I didn't have any targets that I was looking for. But also, I know a part of me is sitting there thinking, yeah, I wouldn't have, if I miss this sale, I won't have to wait too long for another one.
Mhm.
So I think eventually these numbers are going to dilute. Because already, it's hitting the press, like that Modern Retail article. We already know that consumer sentiment is realizing that the stuff is getting stretched out, and when there's pretty much a deal and the stuff starts overlapping, nothing's special anymore, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I wonder I wonder what the landscape will look like when it's no longer bringing in consumers. Do we all of a sudden go back to, oh, you know what? Maybe we do just need to have our sales be one day when it's going to be Black Friday, it's going to be Cyber Monday, and that's it. Um,
But you can't be the first one to make that move. You,
exactly. Yeah,
you
that
can
becomes
only
the
you can
difficult
only
thing.
make that move when your shareholders, and your stock price, after you've reported earnings for whatever quarter that your sales fell in, after you've disappointed shareholders enough, then you can make that move. And
Hmm.
a bunch of uh, earnings reports underwhelmed the
Yeah.
stockholders, then that's when change will happen.
I would not be against it. Yeah, and I'm thinking from the consumer side, I don't really care. I know that sales, are typically, oh, it's $99 and it's marked down to 66, but when you go after the sale, it's actually like 77. So that doesn't move me a whole lot, one way or the other. But what does move me is the arbitrage side. It actually is an advantage to have short run sales, for those who can't take. I mean, it's a little bit of a moat in itself,
Mhm.
in the fact that, okay, well, I'm at my desk all day long, so I can shop the sale, but my competitor also has a 9 to 5 and so on, and they can't shop the sale. Uh, so I would actually love for us to go back to that. It'd be kind of
Yeah.
nice.
And it has to stabilize. The one example, I'm racking my brain trying to think of, an example, some sort of precedent that's been set. And I'm old enough to know, I'm old enough to remember when cars, when production years, when the 2025 models started creeping into late in the calendar of the year before, right? So that was fairly new concept. I can remember the adults in my family, making cracking jokes and stuff, because they start seeing commercials, in September or October or something like that, about the next year's car, and it's like, it made no sense, right? And then obviously they paid enough for commercials and advertising that we became to normalize it. But when it first happened, like, part of the conversation was, okay, I mean, are we going to be able to get a 2026 and 2024? Like, how early can you keep pushing this, to the point where, it doesn't matter what model year it is. It's the one that I bought on this date, and
Right.
anything after that, it's like, yeah, I don't even understand what's going on anymore. So, but that's stabilized, and it's pretty much, it's become the norm that it's definitely in the second half of the calendar that you'll see the next year's model. But everybody knows that it's production model doesn't mean the calendar year that you bought it necessarily.
Hmm. Now, I will say this. They better not do anything to the best sales event of the year, Toyotathon. I will be pissed.
Hey, as long as I can keep putting that big red bow on the Lexus every year for my wife, because that's a real thing. Jesus.
Right.
Yeah. So
Salesforce, this is going to be a heavy numbers episode, but Salesforce issued its holiday sales. And by holiday sales, that means November 1st to December 31st. But they've released their sales estimates. And they predict that spending is going to increase a meager 2% to $277 billion this holiday season. Now, there were some interesting statistics. I find these things fascinating. 2/3 of surveyed shoppers say they're holding out on making big purchases until Cyber Week this year, largely because they believe that this is the best week of the season for deals and promotions. Salesforce predicts that global discount rates will rise briefly in October and peak at an average discount of around 28% during Cyber Week. In the US, the average discount rate is expected to reach up to 30%. Salesforce expects 18% of global orders during the 2024 holiday season to be influenced by a combination of predictive and generative AI, which will amount to about $201 billion in global online sales. Now, this one surprised me a bit because everything else that I've seen in the media, in studies, and things like that have said that consumers are actually turning away from anything with AI. AI powered X, is not selling as well as they were expecting it to. So I'm curious if this actually ends up being the case. Now, 53% of those surveyed have reported interest in, or sorry, we already talked about that one. Now, here's the most interesting thing. Salesforce expects BOPUS, or buy online, pick up in store, to drive 33% of global online orders the week before Christmas, and they included Boxing Week, which I still do not accept as a real holiday due to the shortened shopping season.
Well, that's interesting. The Cyber Week, the popularity of Cyber Week, that's what I'm really curious about, right? Because I mean, it makes sense because we've a bunch of the numbers that we go over on unrelated topics have indicated, general sense of increasing acceptance of online shopping. We've talked about it before. Older people were forced to, based on lockdowns, pandemic, all that stuff. There were a whole bunch of people that wouldn't have gotten to it yet that had to. And then you always have new entries into the workforce and the disposable income possessors, as young people get jobs and whether they get out of their parents' basement or not. They start to have some disposable money. So and they've obviously not known any different, since they started spending their own cash. So so I see that seems to fall into line with everything becoming more digital, accepted widely. The BOPUS, that's curious. I wonder if that's somehow like a splinter off of that same concept, that because I know what the draw is as a Amazon seller to BOPUS, but that doesn't translate to the consumer. I wonder what the consumer sees in BOPUS that would cause strong numbers.
That 33% must just be all men. That was just all the guys who were surveyed, because they waited till the last minute. Now, I am curious, is my rejection of Boxing Week going to make our Canadian viewers politely protest the show?
Yeah, I don't know. That's maybe. Right. Canadians, they're starved for Amazon. Like that's a ripe market. Like if there was a Canadian podcast or live show that popped up, they would own the airwaves, right?
All about Amazon or something like that.
It's the Amazon show, eh?
Sorry, Canada, you are our our neighbors up north. We do appreciate you guys. Sorry, we have to give you a hard time.
We love you. Just teasing.
Here is there is one holiday that just keeps on giving. It's not Christmas. It's not Thanksgiving. It's Halloween. In 2023, Halloween had a record $12.2 billion spent on the holiday. And despite people worrying about how much inflation has hurt, or worried about the next recession or anything else like that, they all plan on spending even more this year. Overall, candy and food shoppers say that 2.3x more candy and 2.5x more food shoppers plan on spending $51 or more this year versus last year. 55% of shoppers plan on purchasing candy multiple times during the season, with 25% of shoppers buying candy 3 times or more before Halloween. 22% plan to host a Halloween party this year. My household happens to be in that 22%. 40% say it's going to be a larger gathering of family and friends this Halloween than it was last Halloween. And 26% of people plan on being a guest at a Halloween party this year. I didn't know we could spend more on Halloween, but it is just continuing to grow.
Yeah, I want a large scale study done on what made Halloween blow up.
That is a great question.
Yeah, because it is not losing steam, and that amazes me. I don't know whether it was growing up Catholic or whatever, that we were just kind of like, it's kind of the devil's holiday, so I don't know. We weren't allowed to play Dungeons and Dragons, and you said, they were a little protective, so maybe that's why we didn't dive into it. Plus, that was like the first real wave of razor blades and apples and stuff. I remember that. But we still did trick or treat at night. We were only starting to get paranoid and safer. So, I'm really curious on what it is that has made Halloween so widely popular.
Yeah, good question. I'm all for it. I love Halloween. I think it's a great fun time to dress up and go get good candy with the kids. I think kids have a great time, but it is curious. And the amount of money, and the people in my neighborhood decorate like crazy. Some ladies got like a 12-foot pumpkin. There's already Halloween decorations going up, and it's September. It's absolutely nuts to me.
Yeah. So, but before we get too far off, did you see the real Tony G says Boxing Week is very popular in Ann Arbor? You see that?
That doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me one bit. All right.
Yeah, Flamingo Flyby. Yeah, I moved here from Russia. Oh, I didn't realize that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and walking around collecting candy. Yeah, as a kid, it's second best day of the year, maybe third, depending on how big your birthday parties were. But like it's the adult Halloween. It's that's the part that I don't understand. Like what but there's a lot of adult behavior that I don't understand. They should do a study on adult Disney people first. Maybe that might be the more interesting results. That's a very curious segment. Sorry if you got Mickey ears while you're watching the show. We're getting Canada, we're getting Disney adult. We're just
I know,
keep pissing everybody off this week.
That's all right. All right. Last thing, and then we'll start answering your guys' questions. So if you have questions, drop them in the chat here. A market site survey came out, and this was the silver lining of the entire week for me. It is we are coming up to, or we are in the throes of election season. As a registered independent, I get hit from both sides, and that means text messages from both sides, emails from both sides, postcards from both sides. It drives me up a wall. And this was a little piece of news that I thought, this is awesome. The majority, or 62% of consumers, say that they care very little about a brand's political affiliation. 32% of them saying political stances don't influence purchasing decisions at all. This is according to Site Jabber. And 30% of consumers have boycotted a brand over political reasons in the past 12 months. So most people seem to be on the right side, where they don't give a crap what, their preferred brand of bar soap thinks about who's going to get elected, and they just buy it because it smells good. Now, if we can just get this information to the brands so that they just, do more Wendy's marketing and less political marketing, and I think that would be great for everybody.
Yeah, didn't we learn our lesson with the deterioration of ESPN as a channel? Like the 24-hour news cycle, just what we've been exposed to by them having to now fill up 24 hours in a day. That's the, on the third Friday, this quarterback has thrown an average of 2.5 touchdowns. Just irrelevant stuff. We're just trying to fill the airwaves with junk, and I wish that number was higher. 62%. That's a good number, but we need to go back to just not just, we don't need your opinion, like just don't share it. I just want to buy, if I like your beer, I want to buy your beer. If I like your,
right.
If I like the scent of your giant bars of soap, I just want to buy the soap. I just want to smell good. I don't want to have it like reflect my personal stand. I mean, it's like we're gonna go back to like the coat of arms. Like we're just gonna have to wear all of our affiliations,
right?
And, we'll have to pick people out, that we're allowed to be friendly with.
Yeah. All right, we should start answering some questions. So, Flamingo Flyby. Any new info or strategy for placement fees? I noticed case packs and less than 5 units all go to BNA 6 now through API instead of various warehouses around the country. I don't have any new information or strategies to try to get around placement fees. I will tell you this, and it's probably not an answer that anybody wants to hear. And I know that it's still going to take a little bit more time, but I think that people should probably choose whatever is going to get into warehouses faster, more than worrying about the fees, and whatever works the best for you, whether that's minimal number of splits or, or maximum number of splits or Amazon optimized, whatever it is, pick whatever seems to be working the fastest and then source with those fees in mind. And I think that's probably going to be the best way forward. Eventually, the people who are not taking those fees into account, which, I mean, if anybody's got their head stuck in the sand that far, eventually they're going to realize they're probably not making any money, or they're making very little money, and they'll be gone. But eventually prices will catch up and people will be like, oh, well, we got to raise our prices a little bit, because in the end, the consumer does end up paying the price for any fee increases, not us. But yeah, Walmart, Target, they can just raise their price. If they have a fee increase somewhere along their supply chain, they can just raise prices immediately. Unfortunately, because we work in a marketplace, we've got to wait until everyone's kind of on the same page if we want to sell through our products. Unfortunately, the way it goes. Marcel, after opening a company in the UK in order to get products from suppliers in the US, Do you recommend Wise, Payoneer, or Mercury? I don't have a company in the US. I don't know. I would imagine it's, 6 and one, half dozen the other. Wise it's a good company. I've heard good things about Payoneer. I've heard good things about Mercury. I would just, whoever wants to do business with you, that would probably be the way to go. How low, just from De La Cruz, how low should my account health score get for me to start worrying about a deactivation? This is a tough one to answer because the unfortunate thing is you could have an account health score of 1,000 and you could still get deactivated. Um, in my opinion, the account health score is sort of BS. It's this might make you feel good to have a 6, 7, 800 and think, oh, you know what? I've got a long ways to go before I'm under that 200 mark that they, want us to be above. However, people in that area have gotten suspended, with no warning, Now, saying that, if your score is significantly under 200, you should do everything you can to get that score back up to 200. I do think that you're taking a big risk, and something is fundamentally wrong, to be at a 140 or a 150. Like there's something going on that needs to be handled.
Yeah, there's a bit of a concentration level, and I don't know. We don't have any idea what your sales are, De La Cruz, but and maybe you've been hit with an unfortunate amount of violations or something like that. We don't know, but volume is going to cure that. Like the more, if you can do more volume than you're doing right now, that means whatever hits you're taking are a smaller percentage of that score. So with a lot of things that we talk about, volume seems to cure a lot. But unfortunately, like Chris said, there are stories of people with a 900, which is obviously a significant volume, and just opening their account in the morning and seeing it zeroed out and deactivated. There's some weird stories about old violations coming back to haunt, and it's just Amazon. They're cleaning closets that they haven't gotten to. It's not just the regular areas of the Amazon house that they're cleaning out. It seems we've speculated. The most common answer that we can come up speculatively is based on the legislation. The government scrutiny that they're under. So it's a little bit random out there, more so than normal.
Big B 777. I wonder if the seller count is going up or down, if the economy starts sliding, if more people will jump in or not. I have not seen the number of sellers that join every single day go up in a few years based on the studies that are out there. I'm showing it's about, excuse me, it's between 2,500 and 3,500 new sellers per day that join the Amazon platform. Now, a lot of people I have seen use that number and say, oh, well, this is ridiculous. This is why it's, so competitive. There's more and more and more sellers. However, we have talked about statistics in the past of how many sellers actually even make a sale. So, think about it this way. There are a lot of people who, intend to start the gym on January 1st and even buy a membership to the gym. And then 82% or more of them have quit by January 19th. If I'm recalling what I've read in the past correct. Selling on Amazon or any other side hustle is very similar. And then you have sellers who have been around for a while and they go on to do other things. So I don't know if Amazon, in the number of sellers in the marketplace, is growing a considerable amount every single year. I think my opinion is it's probably fairly stagnant, maybe growing a little bit, but I don't think it's growing nearly as fast as the marketplace is growing. But that's my opinion. I don't have solid numbers to back that up.
Yeah. You know what, a good gauge that makes me feel a little bit better, because I avoid it like the plague, is seller forums are still full of idiots. Like, I think one of the signs of the saturation apocalypse is you start seeing like intelligent comments in the titles of the seller forums. Like, that's when you know you're in trouble. Like, okay,
Right.
like this has gotten out of hand. I need the dunces, to they can whatever whatever ASIN you pick out to designate the dunces. I know there's some trolls on Twitter that have some opinions. Mine are different than those, but yeah, as long as seller forums stay stupid, we're good. I'm not worried about saturation until then.
I would agree with that. Jerry, I know the cutoff for Black Friday is October 19th. Any news on Christmas cutoff date for FBA? They have not issued a Christmas cutoff, but you do remember, we've talked about this a couple of times, that Amazon has said that inbound shipping is going to be affected for all of November and December. Now, they were not clear on whether that's going to be SPD or small parcel delivery, or if that's going to be, FTL or LTL, full truckload and less than full truckload, or if it's going to be all of them. So we don't know for sure. Now, I have also heard from people who have worked at Amazon, in Amazon warehouses, that they do change the emphasis. Apparently, like during the regular season, it's one truck inbound for like every 2 trucks outbound. But during the busy season, they might go from 1 truck inbound to 5 trucks outbound. And, I'm going to speculate that maybe what they meant when they told us that November and December is going to be slow inbound shipping, means that maybe they're going to go from, instead of 1 to 5, maybe it's going to be like 1 to 10. 1 truck comes in and they don't take another one until 10 trucks have gone out. But Amazon will never tell us for sure. So my suggestion would be that if you have the ability, which I know not everyone does, if you have the ability, you may want to be ready to do some merchant fulfilling this year. Now, whether that is from your house, from your own warehouse, from your storage unit, or you get in with a prep center that offers on-time merchant fulfilling, that is probably something you're going to want to do.
It's a lot of trust to do merchant fulfilling through your prep center. That's got to be a very, very healthy relationship, I imagine.
I would think so, yes. Sorry, let me find your other questions here. Jeffrey, do you guys get a new business credit card, zero APR business credit card each year so that you don't worry about any interest on a card? I'm assuming you have stacked up many cards over the years, since you may have to open up a new one each year. Chris is the credit card expert, so I'm going to let him take that one.
Well, when I'm actively, I'm trying to ease up on the inquiries. I got a little bit heavy there for a while, so I'm not at my normal schedule. It's a little more frequent than 1 per year. I know a lot of the credit card hacking places and travel hacking and all that stuff. They'll tell you, basically, you're working on a new card every quarter. Their schedules are typically 4 per year, or if it takes a little bit longer to reach, if you're going for like a platinum card or something like that, that's the people who aren't in the Amazon business. We have it a lot easier to hit the spend goals, to hit some of these sign up bonuses. But $18,000 for somebody that doesn't do an inventory heavy business, that gets pretty difficult. But to answer your question, I'm not exclusively 0% APR, simply because I have a handful of hotel and airline cards. So those have small annual fees that I've determined are worth it, and I don't churn those. I probably could if I wanted to, but I just keep them open. And I'll just kind of rack up a bunch of inventory. I have a rotation of the cards, so essentially, the period of time where the 0% APR, it's not all like, I mean, I'll let it sit at 0%. Like I'll just max it out and let it sit, and that's 0%. And I'll do a slower pay down on that while I'm working on another card, and that may be my Marriott card, or that may be, Southwest card or something like that. Or one of the Chase Ultimate Rewards, or one of the Amex that has membership points, because those can transfer to hotels and airlines. So those are the flexible cards that you can use. So yeah, this isn't a very clear answer. I apologize, Jeffrey. But typically when I'm running strong and I'm all about the credit card perks, I do more than one per year. I probably two per year. Is probably, every 6 months I'm looking to open up another card. But that's based on sign up bonus as much, if not more, than the 0% interest. That's kind of what I focus on. I'm not sure if that's right or wrong, good or bad. But yeah, there's certainly no harm in kind of maxing out the 0% and just kind of leapfrogging from 0% to 0%. Free money is always good. It's hard to find anybody that doesn't think that is a savvy move.
Absolutely. So Jeremy posted here, and this may be a statement more than it is a question, but I want to respectfully push back just a little bit. All right. So a lot of people on Amazon love to tank prices, and half of them don't know about that fee. Now, I agree with you. Half of them or more probably don't know about the fees properly. I think there are a lot of people who, are not business owners, but are people who own businesses, just happen to own businesses, and they're not paying attention like you people are. But I'm going to push back a little bit, because right now, currently on Amazon, items ranked under 500,000 in all categories across Amazon that have increased by 10% or more over the past 7 days is 911,000 products on Amazon. 911,000 ASINs. Man, I know some people say, well, 500,000 sales rank is too high. That's not the case in all categories. It is in some. I may not buy 500,000 ranked item in beauty and personal care, but home and kitchen and shoes and clothing, that's probably going to be on my radar every single day. Probably the same in tools and home improvement, maybe in industrial and scientific, depending on what the Keepa chart looks like. So there's still a lot out there where the price is actually going up. And then here's the other thing. I think that we too often focus on needing to lower our prices immediately with other sellers. Okay. We do have a choice how we reprice, or what repricing software we use. And being the lowest price is not always the move. Okay. And I think I'm seeing more and more people come around to this, but I would imagine that as many people who may not know about the the inbound shipping fees, or things like that, they may not know exactly how the buy box works either. There is a regional buy box. You don't always have to have the lowest price to get a sale. And so I think that we can fight back against the tank a little bit more than we give ourselves credit for, if we're using a proper repricer and repricing strategies. And the other thing you can do, let's just say that there are 2 or 3 or even 4 or 5 people they're just penny for penny dropping. Okay. Let the idiots play. Okay. Let them tire themselves out. Let them sell through their inventory, see how many they have in stock and how many normally sell through in a day. And of course, you've got to do some estimating there and then be like, oh, well, they're gonna tire themselves out in the course of the next 4 or 5 days. Can I wait that long to sell through my inventory, or is this something that I need to sell through right now? That way, we're taking some objective looks at things rather than like when we say a lot of people love to tank the price on Amazon. That's coming from an emotional place. We want to come at our business from an objective and a logical place, and we'll make much better decisions. And listen, I'm not preaching at you because over the past couple of days there have been some things in our business that have made me want to react emotionally, and I have to tell myself, let's take a step back. Let's think through this. Let's be logical about it, and then we can figure out an actual solution.
Yep. And you know what? Unfortunately, there are different skill levels to sourcing, and there are different perspectives on what people have their goal. I think it was just the other day. I saw Nate Jackson said he knows somebody that just basically runs 0% ROI, and they're solely focused on credit card perks and cash back.
Mm-hmm.
That's all they're taking. That strategy is not really compatible with people that like profitable businesses, people who like
Mm-hmm.
profit, and that's, and we never know for sure. You can never really run an A/B test, but I would imagine if 2 sellers get on the same listing and one likes profit and the other one is a 0%, just perks, chances are, my side, if I like profit, I'm going to be prone to call that person a price tanker, and their strategy isn't going to make a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also, I will say this to anybody, whenever price tanking, starts to get to you, and it'll get to all of us, if you have a string of enough of them in a row. The one thing we have to keep in mind is we shouldn't ever stop trying to improve our own skill. Because they're levels, and if you just kind of jump out there and you take one of these courses, and it can't talk about price tankers without talking about youngins with plum card payments coming due, right, who need to just drop the price and move this stuff because they got a bill to pay. But but there are people who jump out of whatever program, whatever entry point they got, and boom, we're off. Like, okay, I need to do this, and I should have a Ferrari, according to the picture that I saw on Twitter, after a year or two or something, right? And that's what they think, and they don't try to improve, right? I know there are multiple levels. I've plateaued multiple times with my sourcing, and I thought I was pretty damn good at it, probably 3 or 4 times, and then I picked up something or I adjusted my process, and much like my life, I kind of look back at my every 5 years and I go, you thought you were pretty smart, you're a goddamn idiot, right? so you keep graduating and you keep becoming better. Like there was a product on a lead list, and it was, I want to say, $15. It was a beauty product, and $15 profitable, liked it a lot, almost pulled the trigger on it, did a little bit of digging. Turns out that same product is part of a 3-pack, because we just talked to Saul and he mentioned a word that makes me giddy: debundling. It's such an exciting term and concept. So I just on a whim found it as part of a 3-pack. All 3 variations in this 3-pack are all profitable. And instead of $15 buying it by itself, it's under $11, right? So I just picked up whatever that is, an extra 20-30% discount on my buy cost, and picked up 2 other ASINs. And I guarantee you, I can go toe to toe with those people buying it at $15. You know, there are going to be plenty of them. They can tank the price all they want because I've got profit baked in. So I've through a little bit of extra effort and just kind of knowing some extra tricks and listening, keep my ears open to tricks and concepts, I've eliminated price tankers. You know, some people on that listing are going to think people are tanking the price, and I'm just going to be laughing, going, I got another $4 to go. You know, like, sorry about your luck.
Yep. Speaking of that, Saul's episode should be out. I'm hoping tomorrow. I got a little behind on the thumbnail, but hopefully we'll have that out tomorrow. Usually been trying to hit Wednesdays. Tony, do you guys do anything to your return settings, like change the label type? Are we trying returnless returns for stuff under 16 or so? I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about it yet. I don't know if I'm interested in returnless returns or not. Here's the reason. Here's the reason why I'm not sure if I'm interested in returnless returns. From a business perspective, it might make the most sense. But from a perspective where do I want to reward the percentage of consumers who are going to abuse this? Do I want to take part in that? I don't know. So I probably need to think about it a little bit before I decide whether I'm going to do returnless returns or not.
That is under a certain price point, though, Tony. I think it most likely, I haven't dug in either, but on a wide scale, it seems like that makes sense under a certain point, you know, where it's simply going to cost you more to take the return and try to sell it on another marketplace or something, whatever that number is. I'm not sure, but
yeah. And especially if you're at a certain volume, you know, there's gonna, you know, I say that I don't know if I want to participate in it, but also if we were doing $10 million a year, would that be a different answer? Because it's just not worth all of that headache. I don't know yet. Something to think about. I will be thinking about that now, though. Jeremy, do you think that TikTok Shop is going to take over consumers in the next 5 years? I see a lot of people switching over. I don't know. Do I think that social media is going to have a larger influence on people's shopping habits in the future? Perhaps. But I mean, haven't we kind of hit peak social media already? Like everyone's on TikTok, everyone's on Instagram, all the boomers are on Facebook. You know, Twitter is still the place that doesn't have everybody yet. You know, so how much more can it affect the consumer? You know, do we move to more live shopping? There are people I see like once every 6 months, someone's like, I'm going all in on live shopping, and it just doesn't seem to catch on here in the US. Does that change one day? Maybe. But we see more and more people move over to TikTok affiliate shops because it is easy money right now. I mean, I record videos, I post them, or I go live for 4 hours and I sell stuff that I don't have to, you know, own. I just get an affiliate commission. I mean, yeah, it's a cool opportunity. I don't know how long it lasts. I don't know when brands start to say, hey, you know what, these affiliate commissions are too high, or you know, when brands get to the point where they're like, oh, well, we don't really need to pay affiliate commissions anymore because we've got brand recognition. You know, those affiliate commissions end up drying up. We've seen that happen over and over and over again with retailers. You know, they come out with a high affiliate commission. They, you know, get their foot in the door, and then once they have, you know, brand recognition like you wouldn't believe, they cut affiliate commissions. That's why you don't get big affiliate commissions from Amazon, Walmart, and Target. They don't need the affiliates anymore, or not affiliate, but cash back. They don't need those affiliates any longer to drive them traffic. And so those have dried up. That was not always the case. There was a time when cash back from places like Amazon, Walmart, and Target were all actually pretty healthy. And that playbook, because they're taking advantage of something called the network effect, that playbook is tried. And I mean, it's a trope at this point. And it will happen again. And then people will go another direction. However, what we all are, we are retailers. Call yourself a flipper, call yourself a reseller, call yourself an Amazon seller, whatever you want. We are retailers. Retailing is actually it's one of the oldest. It's one of those professions that's been around, for a long, long time. And it's not going anywhere. Whether that's Amazon in 10 years or another marketplace or whatever it is, retailing is not going to go anywhere, nor is arbitrage. Arbitrage is the second oldest profession. Richie, what's the most amount of times you guys have submitted an invoice to get approved for a brand? Usually auto approved, but have been having issues lately with certain brands. I don't recall personally. However, I can tell you this. It was maybe 3 years ago that getting ungated would often take 50 or 60 submissions. Chris, I don't know if you remember or not, but there were conversations in the OA Challenge VIP group of people saying, "Oh, hey, I finally got ungated in this beauty brand or this brand, and it took 52 or 48 or 37 submissions."
Yep.
At one time, that was just normal. That was just an average day's work for an Amazon seller. The pendulum has swung so far in the other direction that if sellers don't get auto ungated or they get rejected once or twice, it's upsetting.
I want to say the most amount for me, I want to say I reached the low 20s. I think it was 22 or 23 tries on something, but high teens at the least, even if I'm misremembering.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, I'm working on getting re-ungated in Nike, and I'm gonna document the whole thing. So I've got a really good looking invoice. I've got everything nicely done up the way that it should be, and named my file, and I'm gonna document. Here's how many times I have to submit, and then I'm gonna just show. I'll make sure the credit card number and my address is marked out, but I'm just going to release, everything that I've done. Maybe not on Twitter. Maybe I'll do it in a little bit more private area, but I'm just going to show it all. That way everyone can see what has to be done sometimes.
Heard it here first. Chris is going to show his privates.
Hanzi, is it a good time to start sourcing for Q4 and send shipments for FBA, or is it too late to send FBA shipments now? No, it's not too late. You don't want to get stuff in, now. Luke, need to sell an average of 416 units a month to hit 250 health score. Find some low-cost units you can sell to break even or slightly more. Yep, absolutely.
Luke, I'm sick of how vague you are all the time. I mean, can we get some specifics, please?
A few weeks ago, Tony, we talked about 90% OTDR to do FBM orders, but did we talk about how they almost simultaneously changed how ODTR is figured, and early deliveries now count against you? I have been meaning to go back in and look at that. I have heard some rumors that early deliveries can count against you. I have also heard that you're seeing the OTDR protection badge on things like Ground Advantage. But Amazon also specifically says that economy shipping options are not OTDR protected, even though the badge is on them. and ground advantage is considered an economy shipping. So that whole program is screwed up, in my opinion. I need to go in and start looking at it again. Zale, I refunded a customer's money for a pair of shoes and she never returned them. This was FBM. What can I do now? It's been 2 months. You are out of luck, unfortunately. You should never refund a customer until you get the item back, unless you are planning on doing a returnless refund. Always wait for it to come back to you for that exact reason. This is funny. Tony, Amazon seller forums is like cavemen penthouse letters. That's hilarious. Let's see here. So I got to see if we got any more questions here. Hey, why did I receive a violation for Canada when I don't sell in Canada? It is possible that you have what is that program called? North American NARF.
NARF.
Yeah. You have the NARF program turned on. North American something fulfillment.
Remote,
anyway, remote. Thank you. It's very possible that something from the US could have been sold into Canada, and maybe it was something that should not have been. So, like, for example, in Canada, in certain provinces, food items have to be in both English and French. So if you sold a bag of Lay's potato chips from the US to Canada and it went to a particular province and it did not have English and French on it, you could get a violation for that. And then sometimes weird things are against the law to sell in other countries. Like, if I'm not mistaken, it's illegal to sell Q-tips in Mexico. If I think I'm remembering that correctly. And so if you listed Q-tips in Mexico, you could get in trouble for that.
Yeah, Canada, Health Canada is very finicky. Some oddball stuff is actually prescription only. So you may be having the same problem that I do. I can't, no matter what, turn off my listings being listed on Amazon Canada as well, even though no inventory goes. I don't make any sales in Canada or whatever, but I can't get it to stop from when my shipments go in and my inventory goes live. It'll show up on Canada as well. It's zeroed out, right? Which is cool, which means I don't get sales, but I get all the violations. 0 out of 10, do not recommend. So what I have to do is the Band-Aid approach, the ongoing maintenance, is I have to go in usually on Sundays. I is when I reprice, and I just that's kind of like an admin day. I will flip the switch to Amazon Canada and go into my inventory and highlight everything and delete all of the products on a weekly basis. It is so annoying. But yeah, you want to go in, flip the Canada switch, go in, see what you have listed. It'll show up, be out of stock, but it'll probably, it'll closely mirror what you have going on in your US store, most likely. And if that's the case, that's the temporary solution. And if you find a permanent one, please let me know, because I am sick of it.
Jeffrey, in regards to business credit cards, so you guys are okay with carrying a balance? Thought it was recommended to never carry a balance, or perhaps I'm missing something. So I've got a little bit of opinion on this. Do you want to never carry a balance? Sure. I think that's great. But if you are trying to grow a business, it is often not possible to not need to have some outstanding debt. I mean, look at any business in a growth phase. Let's look at Amazon, for example. There was a time when I wondered if Amazon would ever turn a profit, because they were reinvesting every single dollar back into the company, and they were taking on millions and billions of dollars worth of debt to fund their continual growth. Now, do we get the attractive financing options that a company like Amazon got? No, of course not. We might be using business credit cards and things like that, where the interest rates are incredibly high. That not breaking any usury laws, but certainly feel like it. So you need to definitely be careful if you're going to carry some debt balance. Try to do it in a way that you're going to pay as little interest as possible, none if you can. But if you are in a growth phase, there's going to be a balance somewhere. The goal is, can my profits outweigh any interest that I might have to pay on the business? Here's one way I think about it. If let's say, for example, that someone offered me a $100,000 loan for 6 months and said, I will charge you a simple 10% interest rate. Now, a lot of people would say, you're insane. That's insane that you would take a $100,000 loan and pay 10% interest on it and have to pony up in 6 months. As an Amazon seller, I say I could turn that over 3 times in 6 months. And if I do a 10% ROI, I'm going to easily make out on the situation. I'll be able to pay back the loan, pay back the interest, and easily have a very healthy profit at the end of the day. So if we start thinking about it like that, it seems to be okay. But you're going to need to know your numbers at all times to make sure that you're not over leveraging or carrying too much debt service on what you have outstanding. Tony, has Amazon changed the way it awards the buy box? I'll Parker say that on Twitter. I have not read what Parker said, but I will go read that and be happy to comment. We don't know what Amazon does. I mean, the buy box is an enigma. We have some best guesses, and we just have to be very careful not to base our speculations on anecdotal evidence and instead try to look at a much larger set of data. So I'll go look at it, see what it says. If it makes sense, I'll comment on it. All right, let's see here. Answered all that. Hansi, I've seen a lot of people saying on Twitter that online arbitrage is not safe and that Amazon is trying to get rid of new sellers. How true is that? Do you recommend online arbitrage over wholesale? I think that misery loves company. And now I don't necessarily mean that, people who say that are miserable. But what I mean is that we take some anecdotal evidence and we see, we have some recency bias. There's also something, I believe it's called the Turing effect. When you buy a new car, it's the Turing effect where you see that car everywhere, right?
Yep.
So what happens is if something happens to you or something happens to a friend of yours, and then you're out on social media and you're in a smaller community like Amazon, you're going to see that happen over and over and over again. And then that further feeds our bias to, oh, that's happening to everybody. When I don't think that's actually the case. Is online arbitrage safe? Yes. However, okay, you need to make sure that your documentation is in order. You need to make sure that you're buying from legitimate companies. Don't be buying from, some weird liquidation source on the internet. Make sure that you're buying from legitimate sites. I always check things like Trustpilot. I check to see how old the website is. If it was, one of our leads the other day was from a site that was registered for the first time in 2024. Good looking site. It was very slick. No Trustpilot, no social media. Immediately off the board. You know, I couldn't find any press releases about them. They didn't have any influencers, which that's not to say that legitimizes a brand, but it certainly legitimizes it a whole heck of a lot more than there being nothing out there and it being less than 6 months old. That site immediately went in the scrap pile. If you do things the right way, does that mean that you are 100% safe from getting a suspension or an IP complaint? No, but it'll give you a better opportunity to fight back at it. And here's the thing: a Target receipt, a Walmart receipt, in my opinion, will beat out a lot of wholesale invoices because you bought something from, Jim and John's grocery wholesalers, in Winter Springs, Florida. Amazon has no idea who that is, but they do know who Walmart is. They know who Target is.
Yeah.
All right.
And make sure you're not hanging out in the seller forums. I always catch highlights. There are people that think something in the TOS says that arbitrage is not allowed on Amazon. And they're in the seller forum. So that's all you need to know about that.
Yeah. When Amazon has said it from stage that arbitrage is okay. Right. Gina, if you get a violation on an item that you no longer sell, is it a result of not closing the listing and it still shows? In some cases, you can get suspected IP complaints on things that you have not sold or do not sell any longer, and oftentimes you can close those and they'll just go away. But if you get I don't know if you mean another kind of violation. I'm not 100% sure. Richie, we've talked about this a couple times, but I see you've asked this a couple times. I've seen it be 50, 60 times to get ungated in the past. Chris, are your settings, inventory, remote fulfillment with FBA, marketplace enrollment all turned off? GSD is curious.
Yes.
Yeah. Anthony, does the ungating process mean that Amazon doesn't want unauthorized third-party sellers? As a new seller, I really don't want to feel like I'm doing something illegal or hiding from Amazon. So here's the thing: that you're not doing anything illegal. All right. Look up and read the first sale doctrine. If you need something to fall asleep to, that would be something to fall asleep to, because Supreme Court rulings typically are a little on the dry side. You have the right to resell anything that you legally own. Okay. Just don't try telling a cop that you legally purchased that 8-ball of cocaine. It never worked for me. Now, is the ungating process Amazon trying to get rid of unauthorized third-party sellers? Well, there's no such thing, as an unauthorized third-party seller. All right. Are there authorized distributors of a brand? Yes, absolutely. But you are not unauthorized just because you don't have a contract with a brand due to the first sale doctrine. But we're also playing in Amazon's sandbox, and they can do whatever they want and make whatever rules they want with particular brands. So it's a very nuanced situation. Okay. Don't ever feel bad for being a retailer. Now, my opinion is that gating is Amazon's way of trying to keep bad actors off of the platform. There are people who sell counterfeit Nikes, for example. That seems to cause a lot of problems. And they typically come from certain countries. There are 2 countries that are famous for selling counterfeit Nikes. There have been rings of people who steal makeup items and resell them on Amazon that have gotten a lot of play in the media. And Amazon is under pressure from the FTC at the moment. I would imagine that all of these things are culminating in some of the issues that we're seeing right now. Lex, the trial with Amazon's ongoing. Any idea when that may wrap up? I have no clue. Not a clue. Jeffrey, thanks for the manufacturer margins episode. One takeaway that opened my eyes is really studying each specific site for their rewards programs. That's awesome. All right, last one. I'm starting Amazon this month. How much money do I need to have for inventory in order to have a decent Q4 for someone who is starting today? I don't know if there's a good answer for this, because what is a good Q4 for you and what is another Q4 for someone else are two different things. The only answer that I know of for this question is the more money, the better. Starting with $1 million would be awesome. And getting a 20% ROI on that $1 million would be incredible. But the best answer is start with what you can afford to lose, just in case, some black swan event were to wipe you out. But start with what you can afford to lose while you learn, because there is going to be some Amazon tuition to pay. And Sadiq, thank you. I appreciate you noticing the new setup here. It's I've been trying to become a little bit more professional. Chris, I don't know if I've ever told you this or not, but I've always wanted a koi pond. And so I've been doing a little bit of research lately. And did you know that there's always one fake fish in a koi pond?
Really?
Yeah. There's koi A, koi B, koi C, and then finally there's the decoy.
Oh man. Did I say I got cut off? I didn't get to give my dad joke last week because I lost the broadcast. And this was in response to the joke you told the week before, which is this is just going back too many lives. But so Moth walks into a podiatrist office, right? And the podiatrist kind of looks at him and he says, what are you doing? What can I help you with? And the Moth says, oh, Doc, I got to tell you, I've been working for Mr. Tarpley for 25 years, Doc. And I've done everything he's asked. I've done the other people's jobs. He goes, so Larry quit, so I had to cover his position too. And then all of a sudden, Mr. Tarpley starts complaining to me about not doing my work when I'm doing two people's work at the same time. He goes, it's thankless. It's just I'm getting nowhere. I'm just spinning my wheels, Doc. It's terrible. And then I go home and my wife, she won't even look at me anymore. We've been married so long. She turns away. She faces the wall at night. She doesn't even. We're just like roommates. We're just raising some kids. We're just roommates, just raising kids. The magic's gone. The fire's out. I said it's horrible. I said my kids. My daughter can't stand to be in the same room with me anymore. Everything I say induces an eye roll, no matter what, no matter how sweet, no matter how loving I try to be. I said my son thinks I'm stupid now, and I thought that wasn't going to happen until later. And it's just everything. I can't stand it, doctor. Finally, the doctor says, "Whoa. I'm sorry you're going through all this." I said, "But I kind of meant what made you come in my office? I'm a podiatrist." And the Moth says, "Oh, your light was on."
Oh, that's great.
Oh, that was double
Yeah. Right. I gotta fix that. All right, guys. That's the show this week. We'll see you guys next Wednesday at 5 p.m. and we'll do this thing all over again.